So since I've been making some slip cast pots that used colored clay, particular clay with mason stain in it, I've also acquired a variety of trimmings and scraps that also have colored clay in them. So this one here is a full filled pot. There's a bunch of other trimmings in here. So the question is what to do with this. Some of these pots had multiple colors in them so that I couldn't cleanly separate the different colors out. There's also different percentages of mason stains in these pots. So that wasn't exactly an option, so I decided to throw them all in, and there's some just regular clay in here as well. So one option I think is just to mix this all up and see what color it turns into. That might be interesting. So I've got my scale. I'm going to tear it out with an empty container on top, so that's 0 grams. Looks like it weighs 150 by itself. So we have 1.53 kilograms of dry clay. So if I want my slip to be 70% by weight dry clay, that means I need to get to 2185 grams of total weight. So I got a bucket over here with some water, and there's actually some slip in the bottom. I'm going to pour that in until I get to that weight. 2187. All right, within 2 grams, I'll take that. So there is not much water in there. So just like my regular slip, I will go and crush all this up and see if I can get it down into water to hydrate. So I'm going to cover this up so that it is airtight, and then we'll come back to it in a few days. So here are all of the colored scraps I've been collecting from all my colored slip experiments, all mixed up and turned back into slip. It's looking like it's probably going to be a grayish color, which isn't surprising. There's, black, blue, and yellow in here. I think I'll use this mold and go ahead and fill it up. Hopefully I have enough slip. And the answer is no, I don't. So this happens from time to time. I have made slip cast pots before that aren't all the way up to the top. So what's going to happen is this will just be a shorter pot made of the same type. I have a little bit more slip in the bottom, but it's looking kind of chunky, even though I mixed it up really well. Since it didn't go all the way to the top and I can't use the shelf here, the lip of the pot will be a little bit weird. So most likely I'll have to trim it at the end, but we can deal with that later. But otherwise, this is the same drill. I'll just let it sit for a while, let the slip go down, I'll pour it off the edge. That will wind up with kind of some flash on the side I'll have to deal with as well. Oh, we got a few of the chunkies in the bottom, but it should be okay. And this here's where I poured it out, so this is going to be a little bit harder to release from past experience anyways, but it should be good enough. All right, I'll let this dry the rest of the way and pull it out of the mold. So here is the mystery color pot out of the bisque fire. It's definitely looking gray. So I'm going to wipe it down, get all the dust off, get it slightly moist so I can glaze it. So I keep my glaze in these tubs here, but this pot's too big to fit in there, so I can't just dunk it. So I have this metal tray here that I just washed off. And I want to pour the glaze onto this. I don't want the rim of the pot touching the metal pan. So I've been using an old glaze container to prop it up, but it's been catching the glaze. So I just cut the bottom end out of it so that the glaze can pass through. So there's the pot. Now we just pour the glaze on. Rock this back and forth a little bit. See if we can get the excess glaze out. All right, and while it's pretty wet, we'll go ahead and clean up the foot. Get most of it off. It looks like I messed up a spot there, so we'll put a little bit more glaze on. All right, great. I'll set that aside, let it dry, touch up the glaze a bit, and then onto the glaze firing. And here is the final result. I think this turned out pretty well. I just have a clear base glaze on this. Last time I used my clear glaze, I put it on a little bit too thick. This time I thinned it out a little bit, but I think it might be a little bit too thin. There's a little bit of raw clay just kind of peeking through in a couple of spots. The inside of this pot's actually pretty rough. I didn't really strain the slip when it was going in. This is just a planter, so there'll just be dirt and plants in there, so they won't really care. That's something that I am trying to do a little bit better at, filtering the slip and mixing it up a little bit more before I put it into my molds. So what happens when you mix together blue, yellow, and black? Well, you get gray, apparently. So going into this, I didn't exactly know what to do with all my leftover trimmings. I think this is a reasonable answer. I can go ahead and just make a unique random color. If you have any other ideas on what to do with the leftover trimmings from a bunch of different colors, let me know. I'd be curious to hear what you do with them. Thanks.